Yeah, so my name is Joy. You can forget about the X thing. And I'm here just to talk about automatic differentiation and how you would do it in Scala. And I work at Babylon Health, started 5 days ago. Not sure if there's anyone from Babylon today, but please don't. Yeah, so first of all, this is a useless talk. I highly doubt that anything in here you would be able to use it in your work. If so, then you're extremely lucky. But it's kind of fun, and I enjoyed it a lot from the process that I was researching for it. I actually started looking into this a few months back, and then someone came to me saying, "Can you do a talk at Scala meetup?" And I was like, "Okay, this is what I am looking now at these days, so I'll just talk about this." Oh? Yeah. So that's okay that you didn't record all the useless parts. Alright, so before I state the problem, does everyone know what differentiation is? You don't? Okay. So differentiation is, think of if you have a smooth line.
You're doing the show of hands who know.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
So everyone knows differentiation? Well, I will just briefly talk about this anyway. So it's like how you find the steepest change of, like if you have a smooth line, then it's the slope. If you have a 3D surface, then it's like a plane. It's basically the steepest change of, like the steepest direction of change you could go. So what we are trying to do here is, imagine you are given a differentiable function, of course. You want to differentiate it to any order automatically. Now you might be asking, like, isn't this just chain rule? So chain rule is, there is a basic list of differentiation rules that you apply to operators, and chain rule basically says you can combine them together to differentiate like arbitrary complicated functions. So just to prove it's not, what we're trying to do here is differentiate methods, like methods in a computer science or programming setting, or functions. So for example, imagine you have a method like that. So as a human, we know this would expand just to sine and then x plus sine, x plus sine, x plus sine, so 4 nested sines. Okay? Now, imagine you're not human, which is hard, but imagine like you're a computer. How do you know, like how do you go and differentiate this? And this is Scala code, like how would you go and do that? So there are like actually, oh yeah, I should show, like there are current approaches to do this in other languages. So for example, this is PyTorch. PyTorch is a framework for doing like deep learning stuff in Python. And one of the selling points of PyTorch is differentiation. So this is how you would do it in PyTorch. So this is where we define the function, like for I in range 4, you do the sine 4 times. And then at the end we evaluate it. And then you just call, you just tell PyTorch, okay, I want to calculate the different derivative on y. So that's the API for PyTorch, and PyTorch tells you that the first order derivative here is about minus 0.7. And I did it manually, so it's correct. That's why I chose 4, like not 40. So this is still a Scala talk. Now you want to know, like, why do we want to do this? It seems a pretty obscure problem to solve. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of like deep learning buzzwords in these years. And actually, if you go back to like deep learning literature, maybe a few years back when there was no PyTorch, you would see a lot of papers that where the author proposed a model, basically listed like a list of layers, and they spend majority of the paper deriving how to differentiate the whole model so they can train it. So if you don't know how machine learning or deep learning in general works, is basically there is a fancy term called gradient descent, but it's basically you are following the derivative downhill to minimize your loss. And you stop when the loss is within a certain threshold or something. So the critical part here is you need to know the derivative of your whole architecture. So like all these years, they've been calculating the derivative manually until someone said, hey, auto differentiation is actually solved the problem, like in computer science, a long time back. And then we start seeing things like PyTorch, and TensorFlow didn't start that way, but they've seen like this is where the mass population is going for. So they are like, they already have it. They didn't have a great API, but it's much better now for auto differentiation. And there are like a few available approaches to this problem. So one is manual, which obviously we don't want to do it anymore. One is symbolic. So this is symbolic. So what you will see is it simply expand it according to the chaining rule. Okay. Now the problem with this approach is you could hit like your number of operators here would explode very, very quickly. Because think how you would differentiate multiplication in chain rule. So if you differentiate a times b, you are basically doing a prime times b plus a times b prime. And now imagine you have a few of these terms together. So all of these explode really quickly. And then you would also see there are lots of duplications here. So like for example here sin x is being calculated multiple times. And we don't actually need that. So the approach I'm talking about today is called automatic differentiation. Of course, there is also like a numerical differentiation, which is basically an approximation. So you move the input by a tiny amount, and then you just calculate the division, which like obviously you would suffer from a lot of numerical problems. Like what if like this thing is infinitely closer to 0, you're dividing by a small number is generally not a good thing. So the math behind automatic differentiation is a trick called dual number trick. I would go through that in code, but here it's just like an overview. So basically, you set every numerical variable you care about to a dual number. The dual number is basically just a pair of self and derivative. And then this ordered pair follows a set of algebra rules, which if you look closely, it's really just like basic differentiation. And then somehow, so here is the function we care about. If you replace the input by the dual number, and then you apply this set of rules, the output would also be a dual number pair. And then you can take the second term directly, that is the derivative. So the important thing here is this is not a simple tuple. This is the dual number construct, if you will, in this sense. I'll just show it.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, all clear on this slide, or we will go through that in code anyway. So why do I want to do it in Scala? I didn't, to be honest. I was just thinking, okay, I need to do a Scala talk, so I need to adapt this thing to Scala. But actually, I found something really nice along the way. Basically, you have a few tools in Scala that help naturally for this process. Which one is like operator overloading. So basically, because we are replacing the input with the dual number, so every operation down to the input, you need to replace that by these rules. And then you can just do an operator overloading on that. And then I will also be using Scala method for which we'll see in a minute. And natural higher order functions, they are just like useful for differentiation because you are feeding it a function, you want a function out. Okay, live coding doesn't work all the time, but I hope the live coding goal is somewhere today. So this is Ammonite. I already imported everything I need, which is only Scala meta, and I'll be cheating. Okay, so this is the function that we are interested to differentiate today. And let's say if I want to call it number 2, which is 0.334, and it matches here. Okay? Just to make sure I get the math right. And then I will just start to define the dual number construct. Okay, so the dual number is primal, which is the numerical variable that you're interested in and the derivative part of it. Oh, yes, good. Sorry, I forgot to. So here, the only difference is I added a plus operator. So you would see like the algebra for addition on dual number is very simple. It's just adding the 2 parts separately. Okay? This is like following that screenshot previously. So this is this guy. Okay, now we need to define one more construct, which is the sign. So sign is slightly different. We are doing a sign on the primal, but we are doing a derivative. We are multiplying the cosine with the derivative, which again is following the there. Okay, now, like imagine what the function would look like if it's operating on dual numbers. So the only difference is first type change, double to dual. Second, operator change, sign to dual sign. We don't need to change the plus. We don't need to change where the plus. We don't need to change the plus because operators are overlooking. Okay. Now let's see if this thing works. I'll just add some helper. So this is just to convert a normal number to a dual number. All right. Okay, so now if we are calling this new function with 2, you get the evaluation result, which is 0.3 that we see. You get the derivative back, minus 0.7, which also matches with PyTorch here. So like that's basically how you would transform your previous code that's working on like types like double or integer to types like real. Now you might want to do it automatically because this is pretty like mechanic and tedious. So this is where source transformation come into play, and I'm using Scala meta. So Scala meta works on strings, and basically what you do is you pass this string, and it gives you a nice AST, if you will. So basically it's parsing the string, and it's categorizing every token in that string to form a syntax tree. Now what we need to do here is, so for example here double, we need to replace it by dual. Let's see what else. So these numerical literal values, we also need to replace them by literal values of the type dual numbers. Okay. So in Scala meta, basically you create a transformer which defines the transform rules. So here we are saying, okay, if you're a double type, I want a dual type. If you are an operator of sign, I want a dual sign. And then if you are a literal, double literal, I want a dual literal. Okay? And this is just to avoid infinite recursion, something like related to Scala method. And now you apply this transformer to your input function string, and you get another tree back. So you would see like this little 0 is gone. The types have changed. And now let's see the final. So this is what the final function looks like, which is what we expected. All good? So yeah, so that is basically what I'm going to talk about today. Also, I don't have really a lot of time, but there is much more to it. So what we did is forward automatic differentiation. So basically, you do one pass and evaluate the function. You only get one derivative back for the variable you are interested in. There is also a reverse mode. So you could think of you start from the root of the tree, swing backwards. The good thing about that is you get the gradient, which is derivative of all the input variables in one go. And that is actually useful because in like real machine learning or deep learning models, you always have lots of input variables that you are interested to like tweak by their derivatives. So most modern language implementation of reverse AD, if they do support it, is actually reverse. They are implementing the reverse AD, which is a lot more tedious because you have to manage the in and outs. Also, you would notice like, okay, we can do transformation on Scala from Scala method, but it's not really very useful. Like it gives you a string. Like I know you can evaluate it, but that's like everything is at runtime. So imagine if you have a language that you can do such source transformation at compiler level. And this is actually what, so this is for Swift for TensorFlow. I'm not sure if any of you have like heard of it. This is actually doing, or trying to do that, and they are having some very like interesting results. And if you're interested, I would encourage people to look at it. It's in very, very early stages, so it's easy to like catch up. And then lambda calculus, which is like the holy word in functional programming. This is a paper that I gave up on page 3. But I have a gut feeling it's a very good paper. so if you think you can make it, then it's probably a good read. It's basically saying that the lambda calculus fundamentally is fit for back propagation, which is almost the same term as reverse AD. So yeah, so let me see. So yeah, so these are the lists. I think the presentation's uploaded somewhere already. So like these are the good references. If you need to pick 3 here, I would say the really nice and easy paper. This is particularly interesting. It is basically arguing that different types of neural network these days, they almost correspond exactly to different schemes in functional programming. So it is a very interesting read. It's slightly outdated, but it covers a few mainstream network types. Yeah, and this is the math behind the dual number. So like why when you replace it by a dual number you get that result. So yeah, so that's it. Questions?